a harsh journey to a happy ending. Pete's life had not been easy. Orphaned at a young age and mistreated by those he trusted, he was forced to fend for himself and navigate a harsh world on his own. But despite the challenges he faced, Pete refused to give up. Through hard work and determination, he was able to turn his life around and achieve success. And as he looked back on his journey, he realized that he had not only overcome his own struggles, but also gained a newfound perspective that allowed him to help others who were facing similar challenges. This is the story of Pete, a remarkable individual who refused to let his circumstances define him and instead chose to rise above them. Pete's early life. The beginning of a hard life. Pete's early life had been marked by tragedy and hardship. He had lost his parents at a young age and found himself alone and without any support. Desperate and unsure of what to do, he turned to the only people he thought might be able to help him, his parents' friends. "Please, can you take me in?" Pete begged, tears streaming down his face. "I don't have anyone else." But, to Pete's dismay, none of his parents' friends were willing to take him in. They all had their own families to worry about and couldn't afford to take on the burden of another child. "I'm sorry, Pete," one of them said, patting him on the head. "But we just can't do it. You'll have to figure something else out." And so, Pete was left to figure things out on his own. He turned to the streets, scavenging for food and shelter wherever he could find it. It was a harsh, unforgiving world, and Pete had to fight for every scrap he could get. But even worse than the hunger and the cold were the people who took advantage of him. Some of his parents' friends, the very same people who had refused to help him, saw Pete as an easy target. They would mistreat him, taking his hard-earned food or money and leaving him with nothing. Life had taught Pete to be careful, to trust no one, and to always watch his back. It was a lonely, difficult life, but he was determined to survive no matter what. Pete's struggles. Despite his tough upbringing, Pete was determined to make a better life for himself. He worked hard and took any opportunity that came his way, even if it meant taking on menial or low-paying jobs. But the road to success was not easy for Pete. He faced numerous setbacks and obstacles along the way, and there were times when he felt like giving up. Why bother? He would ask himself on the hardest days. It's not like anything will ever change for me. But Pete refused to let his doubts and fears hold him back. He persevered, pushing himself to work harder and do better. And slowly but surely, his efforts began to pay off. Pete landed a job at a local garage where he worked his way up from the bottom to become a skilled mechanic. He was good at what he did, and his boss recognized his potential, promoted him to a leadership position, and gave him more responsibility. But even with his newfound success, Pete still struggled. He had to work long hours and sacrifice his personal life, and there were times when he felt overwhelmed and exhausted. But he knew that he had to keep going, if only to prove to himself that he was capable of achieving his dreams. And so, Pete pressed on, determined to overcome any obstacle that came his way. Pete's success. After years of hard work and perseverance, Pete's efforts finally paid off. He had worked his way up the ranks at the garage and had become a respected and successful mechanic. He had his own apartment, a reliable car, and enough money to live comfortably. But Pete's success went beyond just his career. He had also overcome his own personal struggles and had gained a newfound sense of confidence and self-worth. He no longer saw himself as a victim of circumstance, but as someone who had the power to shape his own destiny. "I did it!" Pete exclaimed one day, a proud smile on his face. "I made something of myself, despite everything that happened to me." And as he looked back on his journey, Pete realized that he had not only achieved success for himself, but had also inspired others to do the same. His co-workers looked up to him as a role model, and he often found himself mentoring and advising them on how to achieve their own goals. Pete had come a long way from the lonely, mistreated orphan he once was. He had overcome his struggles and achieved success on his own terms, and he was proud of everything he had accomplished. Pete's newfound perspective. As Pete looked back on his journey, he realized that his struggles had shaped him in ways he could never have imagined. They had made him stronger, more resilient, and more determined to succeed. "I used to think that the world was against me," Pete said to a friend one day. "But now, I see that it was all just a test. A test to see if I had what it took to overcome my circumstances and make something of myself." Pete's newfound perspective also extended to his relationships with others. He had learned the hard way that not everyone could be trusted, but he had also learned the value of forgiveness. "I used to hate those people who mistreated me," Pete admitted. "But now, I see that they were just doing the best they could with what they had. Holding on to that anger would only have held me back. So I let it go and moved on." And with his newfound sense of purpose and understanding, Pete decided to use his experiences to help others. He began volunteering at a local shelter for disadvantaged youth, sharing his own story and offering guidance and support to those who needed it. "I know what it's like to feel alone and lost," Pete told a group of young people one day. "But I also know that it doesn't have to stay that way. With hard work and determination, you can overcome your circumstances and create a better future for yourself." Pete's words struck a chord with the young people, and he soon found himself at the center of a thriving community of individuals who were all working towards a common goal: to create a better, more fulfilling life for themselves. The moral of the story. This story teaches us 3 key moral lessons. 1. The power of determination. Pete's story shows us that no matter how difficult our circumstances may seem, we have the power to overcome them through hard work and determination. Pete refused to let his past hold him back and instead focused on creating a better future for himself. This determination helped him achieve success and overcome any obstacle that came his way. 2. The importance of forgiveness. Pete's journey also teaches us the value of forgiveness. He could have easily let his anger and hate consume him, but instead, he chose to let go of that negativity and move on. This allowed him to focus on his own growth and development and ultimately helped him find happiness and fulfillment. 3. The impact of helping others. Finally, Pete's story illustrates the positive impact that we can have on others when we choose to help and support them. By sharing his own experiences and offering guidance and support to disadvantaged youth, Pete was able to create a community of individuals who were all working towards a common goal. This sense of community and purpose helped Pete find his true calling and made a lasting impact on those he helped.